Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Chandana, and today I'm going to be addressing a very popular question that a lot of my clients and people around me ask me. Okay, so the question is, what is it that brings one to the spiritual path or on the spiritual path? Okay, so first of all, there are multiple reasons why one comes on the spiritual path. So let me break it down step by step for you. So, first of all, when a soul has had so many births and has a lot of experiences, which means there is a richness in experiences. You become a anubhavi or a maha anubhavi, like the rishis, that you have taken so many births in so many different wombs, or you have had so many human births also where you have experienced pain, you have experienced joy, you have experienced suffering, you have experienced bliss, you have experienced the whole gamut of emotions that are there, the whole spectrum of emotions that are there, and your level of learning, at a soul level is very high. That is when you take to the spiritual path, because you have learned so much over every lifetime, over every kind of birth, whether you were a dog or you were a human being or you were an insect or you were a plant or a tree. Every experience, every learning that you have gathered now brings you to a point where you feel your soul starts questioning, now what is left, what is more. Okay, that is one reason why you come on the spiritual path. Now the second reason is, like everybody says, your purva jan sanskar. So if you're a soul that has looked at this question, what more now, what more is there to life, and you've started your sadhana one or two lifetimes previously, then the minute you do that, the deity always ensures that you are able to continue wherever you left off. So that is the other reason why you come on the spiritual path and start taking up a particular sadhana, or some very serious spiritual practice. Okay, or you may be gifted as well, because that is also because of all the previous sadhana you have done in your previous lives. So that is the second reason why you come on the spiritual path. The third reason is when life gives you hard slaps. Okay, so when you have a lot of struggle in your life, if you have you are not getting any answers no matter what you do, you're not succeeding in anything no matter what you do. You've changed jobs, you've changed places, you've changed your career paths, and a feeling of being stuck. Okay, when you feel completely stuck, when you feel like you are in the depths of the darkness in your life, that is another reason why you take on the spiritual path, because you want to know why something is not happening, or why you're not able to move forward, or why you can't see anything. Okay, so this is the other reason why one comes on the spiritual path. Okay, the next reason is people come on the spiritual path because they need healing on an extremely deep level. Okay, so what triggers this? So somebody who has suffered from terminal illness, or a very bad heartbreak, or had a near death or death experience also. So either you've almost died, or you've died and you've come back. Okay, so all these experiences also push you on the spiritual path, and that is when you take on the spiritual path. Okay, so these are the main reasons why people come on the spiritual path. And the last one being that if you are able to come on the spiritual path, that means there is grace with you. Okay, grace wants you, grace is encouraging you to take on the spiritual path, which is why you have come here. Okay, and this is also at times a result of a lot of good karma and punya that you have earned over lifetimes, even though you may not necessarily be you may have not been spiritual in your previous lifetimes or done any kind of sadhana in your previous lifetime, but you have just been a really beautiful and fragrant and compassionate soul. Okay, so when your soul is so beautiful also, that's when you get grace, and your soul becomes beautiful because you are somebody who is selfless, someone who is compassionate, someone who is honest, authentic, right? And you have been like this over lifetime, so then those qualities go into your soul. Now what we do in every lifetime, the character that we have, is not necessarily how our soul is, because the character that we have is chosen according to the karma that we need to work out in this lifetime. Okay, so it's not necessarily that in this lifetime we may not have that kind of courage or braveness, but maybe you will not be in those kind of situation where you need to have so much courage and you need to be so brave. Okay, so but the main characteristics that start getting imbibed into your soul over lifetimes, irrespective of the kind of traits and personality you have chosen to be in this lifetime, is what shapes your soul. And when you have been a positive being, a light being, we are all beings of light, but that light gets covered because of all of our karmas. But if you have always been a helpful person, a truthful person, and like I said, a fragrant being, an honest being, a devoted being. This could be not just to the deity, but devoted to people around you, devoted to doing service for people around you in your family and all. And that is when, then the deity takes notice of you. So this may happen over lifetimes as well, but because of all that good karma, all that punya you have created, all the good characteristics that have now taken a complete rock solid form within your your causal body and your astral body and your soul, your higher self, basically, that is when grace pours down on you, and that is when you take on the spiritual path. Now here, what I want to talk to you about is, there is a big difference about somebody actually walking on the spiritual path and people who are just curious about it. Okay, so just because you are curious about the spiritual path does not mean that you will actually walk on the spiritual path. Curiosity could just be like, oh, what is sadhana, or why should one do this, what are the benefits of it, am I really meant for this, and usually people who walk on the spiritual path, there is such a strong burning desire to be on it. There is a very strong calling, almost to a point where people feel that, without this I just cannot function in my day-to-day life or in life in general. Okay, whatever it is, a small practice that they are doing, this doesn't necessarily mean that somebody has to be initiated or somebody has to do some hardcore sadhana. Just pure devotion also is what a lot of people express to the divine on a daily basis or anytime 24/7 during the day. Okay, so this also means that you are on the spiritual path. Please don't think only by doing some kundalini yoga or doing some tantric practices or pursuing mahavidya sadhanas, only if you're doing all this or you're doing kriya and only then you are on the spiritual path. No, there are a lot of people who don't know any of this, who've never been exposed to any of this, but still have their devotion is of the purest form. Okay, so that is what matters the most. And when you have the devotion, you have the grace, and when you have the grace, then grace leads you. She will lead you to the guru, she will lead you to moksha, she will lead you to the right sadhana. She or he will take over and guide you and make sure you are safely walking on the spiritual path. Okay, so just because you're somebody who is curious, okay, who likes the topic of spirituality because it is so entertaining, because you're hearing about all these beings and these kind of, nowadays spirituality is, they have lost the meaning of it. It has become a genre, like you have comedy, you have action, you have horror, you have, so this has come into that. And for people who are curious, it is nothing but entertainment or just some kind of information, but that doesn't mean that they're going to walk on the spiritual path. Okay, so this is a big difference that you have to understand, whether you are actually walking on the spiritual path or you're simply curious. Yes, the curiosity may eventually lead to you walking on the spiritual path, but it's not guaranteed that because you're curious about it, you are taking on the spiritual path as well. All right, so that's it I had for you today. Until next time, take care. Namaste.